Well, top of the morning to you. Good morning. Welcome to The Breakfast Show, the morning break for live here in Lagos. And you can see that the morning is breaking pretty well. I'm Kayode Okikere.
And I'm Jeffrey Uzon. Good morning to the program. How's it been for you since the weekend? For those of us who follow football, the EPL has started. For those who follow lifestyle, well, the other one has been on. I don't want to mention him, but the EPL started on a good note for Arsenal. And I'm seeing that a lot of Arsenal fans are saying they are getting the EPL this season. But I want to say, don't be in a hurry. Shout out to the Gunners, but take it easy. Calm down. But that was a good one from our boy, Bukayo Saka, with an assist and a goal. Good one for him.
Jeffrey, I need to come at you on different points.
Yeah.
First, Bukayo Saka, as much as possible. Yes, he's our boy, but we know this is just like the Olympics, you know. You know what you saw a lot of the athletes, but we get the point. It was good to see him provide the assist and get the goal for Arsenal. But you know, the other part of this is our boy, Gongon, as Yorubas would say, Osimhen. Now, it was quite interesting what played out yesterday, Jeffrey. So Chelsea had a match. Napoli had their match as well. Both of them lost. And it got a lot of people talking, saying, in fact, right there in the stadium, you could hear people chanting Osimhen and talking about the match between the Chelsea match where they lost to Man City, just because they think, and I'm sure a lot of Chelsea fans will agree, that Osimhen might just be the solution to their challenges, really, at the attack or on the attack front. So you heard them chanting. So a lot of people were saying, well, this is a no-brainer. By the way, if you don't love football, just give us a few seconds. We'll be out of this any moment. So Napoli need Lukaku, right? So Chelsea, get them that. Chelsea need Osimhen. So Napoli, get them Osimhen. It's a no-brainer. Do the exchange and let life go on. I don't like the fact that at this point, one of the best attackers in the world, Victor Osimhen, is not playing. He's sort of clubless in that sense because he's not playing for Napoli, neither is he being transferred elsewhere. That is my major bone of contention from the weekend.
Well, it's like a Nigerian crude oil swap deal, okay? So it's just as simple as that. But let's see what happens eventually, because at the end of the day, you need that clinical finish, somebody who is very hungry for goal, hungry to achieve and all of that. And we know Osimhen gives it 1,000% when he's on that pitch. So let's see how it plays out eventually. For those who are pundits and who follow these things, they know how this can be managed at the end of the day. But I was just dwelling on Gunners because I know that one of the things I dwell on Gunners is because I think I stand to be corrected when it comes to loyalty to club. Gunners and I'm not an Arsenal fan, I should say. They are really, really committed to their club, and I respect that. Somebody say following Gunners is like, you know, you need to have like, your heart has to be like 5 places because it's going to be breaking at different points. So you need a strong heart. So this good start for them. I think it's psychologically very good for Mikel Arteta and the boys, as well as everybody who supports the club. So whenever the Gunners are doing well, I'm big on it to support them to say, okay, is worth the wait. But it's just one match ahead of like 37, 39, or 38 remaining. So just calm down, okay? Calm down.
Jeffrey,
but good one for them.
You know what it is with football fans and politicians. They share that in common, the optimism, eternal optimism.
No, you can't blame them because when Arsenal wants to break your heart, it takes its time, settle down and say, heart, are you ready to be broken? I will break it significantly. And the fans will keep crying and screaming. So when they are doing well, we need to scream at the rooftop, literally.
And that's for those doing well. I saw a take over the weekend, and there was someone who was saying that, well, if you're not doing too well in life, you don't have any business watching football. So the person said, well, if you're not winning in life, there's no point watching people who are winning. But for a lot of people, football, things like that rather are ways by which they just escape from the reality of things. And when I say reality of things, I'm talking about the fuel scarcity which persists in Nigeria, Lagos, the FCT, and in other states as well. For some people, this has been the case for 2 months plus, and you just go out with that worry, that headache, and it's simple. Where or when would I get petrol today? And we shouldn't live that way, really. I know NNPC had put out a statement here and there, saying that they have tightness of supply. Some even saying they don't have supply at all. But the point is that this is not where we ought to be, particularly when you look at it in the light of the fact that we have refineries that could as well be supplying us petrol, the Port Harcourt refinery. I'm not even talking about the other refineries that are not up yet. I'm talking about the ones that are meant to be up, the Port Harcourt refinery and Dangote refinery. We have so much capacity, but very little to show of it. I know that Jeffrey, I was listening, I overheard a petrol station manager who was saying that they said we shouldn't sell in jerry can, else we'll pay 10 million naira. But I'm asking, first, you understand, I know that that is for black marketers, but the point is, you don't even have this petrol to sell in the first place. So how about we figure out this tightness? Because it's not people selling to jerry cans that are causing this supply issues. It is the fact that there isn't enough supply. So fix that first. Then we can talk about the regulatory and other issues, Jeffrey.
I think the beginning, if I was to recommend to the president on this one, my recommendation is not going to be welcomed by a lot of people. It's just so the people in charge should maybe, I don't know, maybe they should kiss this, maybe fall on their sword or just get them out of the way so that these excuses, they're untenable at the end of the day. We cannot have the things we have in terms of natural resources and even the capacity to do, and then we're suffering like this. Now, when you say that people should not sell in jerry can, it's amusing to me because the jerry can they are buying from, I know you're targeting black marketers. That's on one hand. But how do you balance that with people that are buying in jerry cans to fill their generators because they do not have light?
The most absurd thing I've seen, Jeffrey, is people carrying the tank of their generator set to the petrol station.
How insulting can that be?
Come on.
In Nigeria, you carry, now, okay, what about those who don't have cars? Okay, maybe some level of dignity can come in if you have a car, you put it in your car boot. That is even absurd. That is obnoxious. That's ludicrous in the first place.
They have to loosen it from the generator.
Loosen it.
Take it out.
And then carry it on the road, sit on the bike and all of that. And then you say, you just wake up and make policy decision. You don't think it through. Come on, man, we can do better than this. If the guys who are handling this space are not doing enough, kick them out. Get competent people to work this space. It's becoming too embarrassing. Just like we've said, that the national grid will continue to collapse. It's not a prophecy because the experts have told us why it will continue to be so. And when we talk to the expert, what needs to be done has not been done. So until it is done, we will continue to experience national grid collapse. Now, with the NNPCL and the petroleum oil and gas sector, we're also experiencing, I've never seen a sector that is so convoluted, opaque. The more you look, the less you see. But the only one Nigerians can understand is at least to see fuel at filling station to buy for their cars as well as their generator. And now you say you don't want to sell in generator because of black marketers. Come on, man. You can't do better than that. It's unacceptable. The incompetence is unacceptable.
It is indeed. Again, we should not be where we are right now. But let's unpack further for you on the show this morning. Our Monday edition. Monday means business. So what does our business strategy look like? We'll take a look at it. The general insecurity in some parts of the country has seen doctors and medical students becoming a constant target. So join us for a crucial conversation on tackling Nigeria's security crisis head on. Can we find a lasting solution to the terror? And what's the possible reason behind these targeted attacks? It is not a nice scene, I must tell you. All the search for answers begin.
It is never a nice thing to see our medical doctors and students kidnapped. And that's not all. As Africa battles a rising Mpox, what we call monkeypox outbreak, Nigeria case count tips up, 39 confirmed cases. You will join us and we will help you join us on this very crucial conversation with the Disease Control Agency boss as we explore the nation's response strategy, the risks ahead, and the race to contain the deadly virus.
Absolutely. But that's not all. We are taking up all of your comments, questions, contributions on this show in just a few minutes. So hashtag CTV Morning Brief right there. Or you can just head to WhatsApp right now and let us hear your voice. Your voice matters on the show. You are the third anchor, literally, on the show this morning. So if you have any issue around you, if you've got maybe fuel scarcity, whatever it is, head over to WhatsApp right now. Send us a message. Send us a video, an image, whatever it is that can tell the story around you. Hey, send it in. And we promise you. Oh, yes. We promise to give air to your voice. All right? So there you have it. We're starting off with the top stories. These are stories that will shape the conversation today and in the coming days. So stay with us right here. It's the Morning Brief. Top stories at this hour. The fuel queues don't seem to be going away anytime soon in several parts of Lagos and the FCT, as well as some other states in the country, causing traffic gridlock and major headaches for road users and commuters. A liter of the product now sells for between 800 to 1,000 in some filling stations, a move that has resulted in an increase in the cost of transportation, coupled with the traffic, one that you see right there in the Alakbara area of Lagos State. Well, black marketers are also taking advantage of the situation as they sell for as high as 1,200 naira to 1,500 naira per liter. Well, the NNPC had attributed the scarcity to tightness in fuel supply. But meanwhile, the national oil firm says that it does not owe international oil traders $6.8 billion. In a statement by spokesperson Femi Shoneye, the company also denied claims that it has not remitted funds into the Federation account since January. We'll continue to monitor the fuel scarcity situation in Lagos, the FCT, and in other parts of the country. But let's tell you that President Bola Tinubu is scheduled to travel to France today on what has been described as a brief work visit. According to a statement by the Special Advisor on Media, Ajuri Ngalale, the president will return to the country after his short visit. The president just returned to Nigeria on Friday after a 3-day official visit to Equatorial Guinea, where some deals were signed between both countries. It is not immediately clear if the president will use the opportunity to secure the release of the presidential jets currently seized by the French court on the request of Chinese firm Zhongshan Fucheng Industrial Investment Company Limited. Well, staying with that issue, well, something related to that, I shall say, it's a war of words between economists Professor Utomi and former Ogun State Governor Senator Utomi and Amosun over a failed business agreement. It began with Professor Utomi alleging that Senator Amosun violated a contract he entered with his government right after Senator Amosun's admission that he cancelled a deal with the Chinese firm Zhongshan Fucheng Industrial Investment Company Limited. Well, in a tweet on his X handle on Sunday, Professor Utomi claimed that, like the Chinese company, he also faced a similar fate. Now, part of his words, or his tweet reads, "I too was a victim. I had leased OPIC land in Lagos in a BOT agreement under Governor Daniel, but Governor Amosun stopped all such and being sworn in." But in a quick reaction, Senator Amosun has dismissed Professor Utomi's claims of contract violation, insisting that he has no case. The former governor stated that Professor Utomi's proposed project was unsuitable for the designated Ogun State property. Senator Amosun further revealed that despite offering a 100 million naira refund, Professor Utomi insisted on a larger sum. He accused the economist of using his influence to pressure and even attempting to blackmail him. Or part of the former governor's statement reads, Professor Utomi knows his case did not even have any legs to stand on. He is not different from Songfu International Investment EFCC. He knows he cannot lay claims to any lawful damage done to his investment. All he is trying to do is a Me Too, which is very disgraceful, he says. Well, away from that issue, we'll watch to see how it plays out. But let's tell you that the People's Democratic Party, PDP, in Edo State says they are not only in contest with other political parties ahead of the September 21st governorship election, but also the Nigerian police. The Director General of the PDP campaign organization, who addressed journalists at the party's secretariat in Benin City, the Edo State capital, insists that the PDP will not be intimidated.
The Nigerian police belongs to all Nigerians, and the Nigerian police is for all Nigerians and not for a select few members of the APC who are in Abuja. It is pertinent to note that the days in which political parties win elections by wanton intimidation are far gone, and Edo people are going to stand firm in resistance to any form of harassment and intimidation by any group or persons, no matter how highly placed. We also want to categorically state that the Nigerian police force is not on the ballot for the September 21st general governorship election in Edo State. As it now appears to us that we are now contesting against the APC / the Nigerian police. It is therefore important that they, in the interest of peace and security in the state and country, read the mood of the nation and conduct themselves professionally as we approach the elections and ensure that they maintain law and order, which is their constitutional responsibility. We believe that this devious resort to harassment and intimidation is a recipe for anarchy. And we are therefore calling on the Inspector General of Police, who we know is a highly seasoned policeman, the AIG Zone 5, the Edo State Commissioner of Police, and other security agencies to step in and stop these harassments and intimidation by this suspected band of APC police operatives believed to be on illegal duty to prevent a descent to anarchy in Edo State.
And away from Edo State, the All Progressives Congress APC in Bauchi State is calling for the cancellation of the results from Saturday's local government elections and the immediate resignation of the chairman of the Bauchi State Independent Electoral Commission, Mr. Ahmed Makama. The APC announced that it will pursue all legal avenues to reclaim its mandate, even as a newly elected local government chairman are sworn into office. But in response to these allegations, the People's Democratic Party, PDP, has defended the election, stating that it was free and fair.
We blame the Bauchi State Independent Electoral Commission, chaired by Alhaji Ahmed Makama, for failing to ensure the right thing is done at the right time and for failing to resist the PDP government in its quest for political dominance against the popular will of the people of Bauchi State. We reaffirm our stance that the purported local government elections is unacceptable, and we shall explore all legal means to reclaim our mandate and ensure that the right thing is done always.
Let me remind the local government chairman that you see their election to this position of responsibility as a challenge and as an opportunity to prove their worth as competent and reliable managers of men and resources. The electorate will be looking up to you to cater for their well-being through the provision of infrastructural facilities and social amenities. With the granting of autonomy to local government, the bar of performance for elected officials has been raised.
More on local government elections, but this time in Anambra State, where the Labour Party has faulted the proposed Anambra State Council government elections, which is slated for September the 28th. According to the State Publicity Secretary of the party, Mr. Theo Ibe, the proposed election has elements of illegality which they intend to challenge in court, but he disclosed that the party will still be a part of the polls. Similarly, the State Secretary of the party, Mr. Chibuna Koli Akirika, points to the aspect of a law dealing with party conflict which is not under the powers of the State Assembly, nor the electoral body to resolve, adding that despite resolving to be a part of the election, what they describe as illegality of some aspects of the electoral process will be challenged in court.
As much as the House of Assembly of Anambra State did not make any budgetary provisions for the proposed council election, we are shocked and at a loss at the speed of amendments after amendments of the state electoral laws, extending even into the wee hours of the morning. And after careful study of these amended electoral laws, we as a party resolved as follows: to approach the court to challenge the observed obnoxious clauses in the hastily amended laws. However, we are getting prepared also to participate in the election without prejudice to the outcome of the judicial proceedings pending before the courts.
And there's been a tragedy in Karkari village, was a local government area of Kano State, as a widow and her 5 children lost their lives after consuming a local delicacy known as Damwake. The victims, who were all members of the same family, were confirmed dead at Grassroots General Hospital after being rushed there in critical condition. According to initial reports, the food is said to have been prepared using expired cassava flour, which is suspected to have caused the deaths. Confirming the incident, the command's public relations officer, that's the police, SP Abdullahi Haruna, stated that the force is still awaiting the medical report from the hospital to ascertain the cause of death of 6 persons. Anti-security is part of efforts by the Nigerian military to enhance professionalism of personnel in the ongoing fight against banditry, terrorism, and other related security challenges across the country. The Nigerian Defense Academy has held a battle inoculation drill for graduates and cadets of 71 regular course and direct short service course 28 during its Camp Highland exercise. The exercise is part of final outdoor field training exercise for the cadets, and it held in Kachia, Kaduna State. It is aimed at testing the cadets' leadership skills, physical fitness, and command and control abilities. Well, outside the country now.
In the inventory of the Nigerian Army, and it brings to life what we face daily in the court of operations in the defense of our fatherland.
In a couple of weeks from now, the Nigerian Defense Academy will boost the manpower of the armed forces of Nigeria by churning out a new set of officers who will be deployable to the theaters of operation. The cadets are good to go.
And outside the country, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has arrived in Israel in his latest effort to push for a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza. His 9th trip to the region since the war began in October comes days after the U.S. presented a modified proposal aimed at bridging long-standing gaps between the two sides. The U.S. has expressed optimism about the deal since talks resumed in Doha last week, but Hamas says suggestions of progress are an illusion. Meanwhile, Gaza protests continue in the U.S., threatening to overshadow the Democratic National Convention today, an event expected to be a show of unity for Vice President Kamala Harris as the party's nominee for president. Sports news now. Nigerian clubs Enugu Rangers and Rema Stars made winning starts in CAF Champions League qualifying on Sunday as they bid to become the first title holders from the country since 2004. Frank Omiro netted midway through the first half to give Enugu a surprisingly narrow 1-0 away first leg win over Zilimajo of the Comoros in Uyo. Rema on the other hand, overcame conceding early in the second half to edge former African champions FAR Rabat of Morocco 2-1 in Ikene. Nduku Jr. had a first half goal for Stars cancelled by Democratic Republic of Congo-born Joel Beya 6 minutes after half-time. But we'll look forward to more wins for Nigerian clubs and, of course, Nigerian players and athletes across the country. But what have you been saying about the top stories and the trends? Jeffrey joins me as we walk through the very interesting roads of X.
Yeah, they're interesting. And of course, and trust Nigerians will raise alarm when there needs to be a raising of alarm. And where they're raising alarm is this embarrassing, protracted issue there was a point it wasn't a big issue at some point. Now it has resurfaced, which has to do with the fuel scarcity. So let's get straight to it. Gridlock, queues as fuel scarcity hits Lagos. Lagos is always, I don't know. That's it. That's what you're saying. This is Lagos. Which area is this again, Kayode?
Well, this is the Alakpere area.
It's Alakpere,
area of Lagos. And
inbound Lagos.
I think it's important to...
Outbound Lagos, actually.
Yeah, outbound Lagos. The challenge now is traffic, gridlock. And you see some of the fuel queues having up to 3 lanes. In fact, if you're heading towards your Tedola Bridge, there's a prominent filling station there. You'd see that the queues have like 3 lanes, so you can imagine the traffic, because that's outbound Lagos. That's a highway, so it's usually busy, and you just wonder, people have to go through stress to get petrol, and they're going through stress just to ply those routes as well. This is a terrible combination.
Yeah, on my way I saw the queues as well in my area. But let's hear what you are saying concerning this. And don't forget, you can send it to us as well. This video, send it to us. Let's find out exactly what's going on in your area. Coco_CLE, we have been suffering here in the FCT for over a month. So your own is long-term, long suffering.
I can confirm that. And again, Jeffrey, I should say that the fuel scarcity never really went away, right? Because for the past 2 months, at least now, there are filling stations you just gamble and say, do they have petrol on them? And that never used to be the case. You take it for granted, drive into a filling station, buy petrol, but that's not the case. In the nation's capital, it's also the same thing. So
I was going back, I was going home from work. I just saw a filling station open, and I had to fill my tank immediately. We shouldn't be doing that at this level as a country, but this is the reality we're facing. Kayode, you have the next one.
Biomi says, repeatedly embarrassed report of fuel scarcity nationwide shall come to an end. This user says, as you can see, we've got the best set of politicians in the country's history. President was formerly senator, his wife VP, SP, COS, etc. Where were the conceptualizers and creative problem solvers of Nigeria then? Okay, so I don't know if this is sarcasm, but the point is they're leaders in power who should resolve these issues. So you wonder, what are they doing if they're not resolving these challenges? That's the question.
All right, Kele Chineke says, laugh out loud, they should also bring fuel along so they can just give to the people and they will leave to their office and places of work. All right, wonderful. So we're not done with the fuel scarcity.
Let's go over to, this threat by the federal government to withdraw marketers' licenses over hoarding. So it's a multifaceted issue. So there may be hoarding in some areas, right? There are people who are maybe selling to those who now sell as black marketers. There are people who are just gouging the price for no reason, taking advantage of a terrible situation. And there are those who legitimately don't have supply. Right, and I think that is a major challenge. But take a look at what this user says. Shala Thani says, FGN should activate its monitoring team to inspect marketers' tank farms or petrol stations. The truth is that marketers can't import with devalued naira and sell at a loss. So this user is essentially given a breakdown of another angle to this one.
So at the end of the day, there's been the back and forth about bad fuel, off-spec fuel being imported into Nigeria, high sulfur content, specifications not meeting up with the octane level, because on all of that debate around Dangote and whether NNPCL has enough reservoir for moments like this. So that's why, and these guys, call them to come and talk. It's like a difficult conversation. So we're calling out NNDPRA, NUPRC, everybody, NNPCL. You guys need to
speak to the people you are accountable to.
It's not just writing releases.
Yeah.
So
there's this part I didn't take, and it's quite important. It says, now that FG's revenue has skyrocketed, it should be ready to sell dollars to oil marketers at reduced rates. So that's some sort of subsidy, which is said to be happening right now already with the NNPCL. So is this a way forward? Who knows?
Well, FG revenue may be skyrocketing, but I understand maybe NNPC is also having issues with cash. But they will explain. That's why we say, come, let's have a conversation. Recreate _ yourself. Gaslighting as usual. Hoarding is a symptom of inadequate supply. Once supply is adequate, hoarding becomes a waste of money. Nobody hoards water, recharge card, etc. You know why? Supply is unlimited. Tinubu government should do their work and stop looking for excuses. And again, sometimes you're wondering whether this is a bit of a harbinger or a backdoor to increasing pump price at the end of the day. Because what we realize in this space is that when these things happen, you notice that pump prices go up. Right. It's from 650. I bought one day 710 and then 750. Just keep
800, 900.
And then I think we asked the Petron president. He said no, it's not. But it looks like this is a game at the end of the day.
But they also say that it's been deregulated anyway. But this user, Humanity First, says, I laugh whenever they start talking about hoarding. So this is the point he's just making. In a free market where there's freedom of entry and exit, you don't need to tell anybody to hoard. They want to sell and make money. That's why they open business in the first instance.
So it appears to us that all of the deregulation and what we call liberalization of the market is really not full blast. There's some level of control and management for the social. Well, let's move to the next one. Which one is this one now? Nigeria remains backward because of the self-centered leaders, according to
former President
former President Olusegun Obasanjo. Let's take your thought. This is a long one. We may not be able to take everything. Imara Ho says, all humans have the tendency of being self-centered if allowed to act without boundaries and control. No country should allow its fate and future depend on random goodwill and emotions. Kaya, do you have next one?
Yeah, just from Chidi Godson, we also see your comment on this one, saying being self-centered is not bad because Nigeria is a country of diversity in ethnicity and tribes. Okay, but let's see how you maneuver this. Whether we like it or not, there is no way a Yoruba man or woman will ignore his fellow kingsmen or man to an Igbo man. The earliest we realize this and move forward in terms of division. And I think these are narratives that maybe will further deepen the issue. Being self-centered, I think in that context is thinking of yourself rather than the common good. Okay, as a leader, I mean, a leader is there not to enrich his or her pocket. A leader is there to serve the people. So if you're in a position of authority at any level, and what you're thinking about is how I can make money from this, how I can corner the funds, then you are a problem to Nigeria, and you should not be in that position.
Absolutely. So I think, do we have time for one more?
Yeah, just
that Nigeria 6. I think we should go to that one. Nigeria 6. Which one did you look at? I've seen the one you read. Nigeria 6 500 million naira dollars, I should say, loan for the World Bank to support new health initiative. So there has been this policy of government, and we spoke to Professor Pate about some of the reforms he's bringing into the health sector. But all of this has to be cash driven and funds driven.
Money is
money at the end of the day. It's not just talking. Pojo talk with numbers says, while borrowing 795 billion from foreigners, when we, I guess you wanted to say why, when we Nigerians can only actually sort ourselves out. The single bank raised 127 billion in this same country within 45 days. Why is it that our leaders like enslaving us? So that's his own position.
Yeah, so these monies go into different channels. By the way, this bank you referenced raised 127 billion. What Nigeria is trying to borrow is 795.
That's almost a trillion.
Yeah, so money doesn't just go to one channel. If we focus our attention and say, okay, let's put all the money in health, what about other areas? So that's why sometimes you see these borrowings happening. Whether or not it is right is another thing entirely. So we leave the
borrowing, they say, is not a problem. It's utilization of the funds borrowed. That is always, and has always been the problem.
Challenge. Shinam, Adinga _Shinam says, what is Nigeria really borrowing? With plenty question marks. It's paper money, or is it paper money or digital digits?
Or digital digits.
Okay.
I don't know.
Why does Nigeria concentrate on borrowing and leave human efficiency. So I think maybe this talks about the efficiency in terms of borrowing, but there's a need to have a conversation, at least at the community levels, on how funds are borrowed and used, and that's where communication comes in. If these people do not come out to speak, then people will go to town with all the postulations. Jeffrey.
All right, so this one has to do with that very bill that was proposed by the Speaker of the House on, we call it the Counter-Subversion Bill. There were so many clauses or provisions in that bill that Nigerians were not comfortable with, one of which was refusing to recite the national anthem with the intent of a couple of things he said in that bill will earn you a fine and even a prison time. And the people did not find it funny. Nigerians came at him, and he did the honorable thing by withdrawing that bill. Some of us are saying he should even add an apology to that bill, but he's within his right. He has done the honorable thing. Nigerians are reacting to this. Abdulrashid Ajia says it's disturbing that the government even considered punishing citizens for not singing the national anthem in the first place. This move reveals a troubling desire to control Nigerian citizens' thoughts and action, and raises so many questions about the state of democracy and individual liberties in this country.
Jeffrey, interesting debate.
Yep.
Okay, and let me bring it out. So the question has been, why didn't you want to recite the national anthem? Nobody's asking them to, that's what the people who are for this say, nobody's asking them to sing On Your Mandate We Shall Stand, or APC anthem, or Labour Party anthem, or PDP anthem. It is the anthem of Nigeria, a country that is that you are expected to be in full support of. Country, not the politicians or the political parties.
Not always in power.
Yeah, the country. So the question has been, why do you have a challenge with it? Of course, the people on the other side then say, why prison sentence for not singing national anthem?
I think what is going on is this wouldn't have been a conversation if we had attained nationhood as a country. But what citizens see with this kind of bill is like, politicians, are you just playing with us? What joke is this? There are more bigger fish to fry, and you're wasting our time with this kind of legislation. People are, so let me give you a scenario. This is what happens in Nigeria. We have two tabs. One is missing, and then we call everybody that one is missing. Everybody's complaining it's missing. Yet we can't catch who stole. But the fact remains that it has been stolen. Our monies have been stolen by the people that are politically exposed for many years. We haven't seen the level of prosecution and conviction and sentencing to different prisons and all of that. And yet you're bringing this. That is how Nigerians are reacting.
There's a saying where I'm from, to buttress that point, says that you've left a bigger illness like leprosy, and you're focusing on ringworm.
That's very funny.
That's a very interesting one, right? I'm sure you understand that saying if you read that before.
That's why they were blasting the EFCC chairman, and rightly so. The people want to say they're right, they will blast him rightly so, because they feel that Yahoo boys, as much as they are an embarrassment to the country, embarrassing us with all the things they do, they are not as much of a problem like the political class who are allegedly stealing our money.
But the other side of the debate is that that's how you actually grow in it. So if you don't nip it in the bud, in fact, that's not bud anymore. That has grown into a plant.
Let's tell the EFCC chairman the truth, because that's what we owe him. If you like, arrest 2,000 Yahoo boys.
But corruption is corruption.
Yes.
Whatever the case is.
I'm saying
whether
perception.
big or small.
Yes, perception. You have to look at the people's perception. If you like, arrest 2,000 Yahoo boys every day, and you don't catch the politicians, Nigerians will not be impressed. Let's tell you the truth. That is the truth.
So let the law apply to everyone.
So when they see that Yahya Bello cannot come to court to take a plea, just to take a plea, and you're chasing your boys, they don't see you as serious.
Big issues, we must say. This next user, you've taken Abdulrashid Ajia. Have you taken that one?
No, I haven't taken
it says it's disturbing that government even considered this in the first place. So let's try to break it down. So this is not really government. This is a lawmaker that considered this. Now, I'm not speaking for government, but it's important to contextualize it. This was by a lawmaker representing a certain people who, incidentally, is a speaker of the House of Representatives. So maybe not government, a lawmaker. The lawmaker may actually be representing this user for all you care. So that's the context. But obviously, the point is taken.
I think I've read that. You have the next one, Kyle.
Yeah, the next one is
Jamiu.
Jamiu says, this is disturbing that as a developing country, our worries resolve around the national anthem, something they themselves can't sing.
I like Darren Day says, our prisons will have to be so filled, including me, because I don't even care to know it beyond the first line. Nigeria will hail thee. Is it me that has been thinking of how my family will survive this harsh economic situation that will now be memorizing new national anthem? Sure.
There you go. So we'll try to capture as much as we can. A busy weekend, obviously, not minding all of the sports and all of that. But we'll take a moment now, but you can keep sending in your messages, videos, questions, hashtag CTV Morning Brief, or on WhatsApp. But we're starting off with the very first conversation today. It concerns security. Why are medical doctors being targeted? Why are medical students being targeted? They've been kidnapped. And you wonder, what is going on? We seek to get to the heart of this and get updates on the situation of medical doctors and the medical students that have been kidnapped in different parts of the country. That's our starter, as well as the national security situation.
Welcome back. Yet again, we zoom into the issue of our nation's security. But one of the major focus on today's program, besides the other issues, is this launch against medical doctors, health practitioners, health professionals, where we see incidents of them being kidnapped. And we're going to talk about that as well as other security issues. So let's bring in our guest, Dr. Edine Elsor is a security and management consultant, fellow, the Security Institute United Kingdom, and founding MDC of Executive Guards Limited. He joins us via Zoom. Dr. Elsor, thank you so much for coming on the program. We also have joining us from our Abuja studio, a retired Assistant Inspector General of Police, Mr. Wilson Inalego, and also the President, Association of Resident Doctors, University of Abuja Teaching Hospital, Dr. Abba Innocent. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you for having us, or having me.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians. Good morning, viewers across the globe.
All right, Dr. Innocent, let's start with you because this is quite one of the reasons why we're having the conversation. The issue around what you call perhaps a bit of a prevalence, if you allow me to use that word, of medical doctors being targeted. So I will start with some data with you. What has been, let's talk about this year, for instance. How many medical doctors have been kidnapped and maybe released? How many attacks on medical doctors has been recorded?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the question. The exact figure of medical personnel, particularly doctors that have been kidnapped for this year, has been very alarming. There hasn't been any particular figure because, again, reporting has been an issue. A lot of people will actually prefer to keep it on the low. So reporting has been an issue, but data available to us, especially in Abuja, Nigerian Medical Association, this year alone, we've had over 17 cases of kidnapping all across Nigeria, which is very alarming.
All right, Dr. Innocent, if I may butt in just for a moment, I want to get a few things sorted. Let's get to Dr. Usoro on this particular one. Dr. Usoro, before we get back to the president of NAD in Abuja Teaching Hospital, one will wonder what could be the driver for targeting or the intent for literally targeting healthcare professionals. Remember, we've had the Jakba incident. We're even looking for more doctors, and now the ones we have are not even safe at home. What is going on? If you can explain to us.
I think we need to realize that it doesn't appear as if the medical personnel are just being targeted. That is very doubtful. For instance, the issue of the medical students, and these criminals, they get on the highways, and it's an opportunistic kind of a thing. They pick anyone they see, they pick on any vehicle. Some you hear cases where vehicles are fired upon. But you know, the thing is, because of the maybe profession of the people involved, you know, and it comes on. But I mean, this is something that is happening practically every time. So I don't think that they will say that the medical people are just being targeted. It's a national problem.
Dr. Usoro, is that an assumption or a statement of fact? Because what you're saying...
Yeah, a statement of fact. Because like I said, it's just because now because medical people are involved and they have a very strong association, I mean, their people can rally around and then, of course, bring it to the media. But this is something that you hear it last week, the other week, you heard people traveling between Kogi State and KT, and you're hearing it practically every time. Commercial buses being being attacked and all that. So I don't think we will say that these criminals that come out from the bush and they just, they pick anyone they see.
All right, Dr. So I'll get back to Dr. Innocent, but just one more on this, because that's why I was asking you whether it's a statement of fact or an assumption, because some school of thought are saying that because of the number of doctors we have and the need for medical professionals and all the things that are going on, some of these elements are targeting doctors, carefully using those words, to maybe gain some level of service from their expertise. These doctors are innocent, they are just doing their business, but they are being targeted because maybe they are taken to treat maybe some of the people in their camps and all of that. What do you say to that?
Like I said, maybe after the victims are taken into their fortresses, that may happen. But we shouldn't, talk about targeting on the highways? No, because these are things that is happening, like I've said, happening on a regular basis. It's a national issue, and you've heard students, you've heard coppers, you've heard traders, you've heard just travelers, people going for weddings. So it's not that maybe in this case these are students, and I don't think one will say the doctor.
All right, Dr. Osoro, let's take it back to Dr. Innocent. Dr. Innocent, do you agree with the Dr. Osoro on this particular one? He said there's nothing like doctors specifically being targeted. You're just a victim of the general crisis everybody's dealing with. Is that how you see this from where you sit? Okay, maybe, Kayode, I'm sure you have a question.
Yeah, while we're trying to resolve all of that, because they're a major part of this conversation as well for Dr. The NARD doctor in our Abuja studio. It's important to get his thoughts on that. That's Dr. Innocent, as well as Mr. Wilson Inalego from the security perspective. But let me come back to you, Dr. Osoro. And this is a premise. We've had a doctor who's been in captivity for 7 months. We'll get Dr. Innocent to speak to that. For 7 months. And you wonder, what is the thinking behind that? And this is not the first. Now we've had medical students kidnapped as well. And what has been said to be a cause of this is that some of these bandits, terrorists, criminals need medical help in their camps because their members go out there, get injured, and they need someone to give them prescriptions, tend to them. So that's also been some sort of explanation for why we're seeing this uptick in kidnappings of medical practitioners, and in this case, students. So what have you to say to that, Dr. Osoro?
Like I've said, I want us to put it in the right perspective. Yes, maybe the doctors who are taken into captivity may help this set of criminals offering medical help. But there are also several other people. If you remember, the core members that were traveling from Akwa Ibom going to Sokoto, and they were taken in, I think up till now, running into months also, many of them are still not been released. So what I want us to look at is that these are people who get on our highways and attack most times they go for these buses because of the number of people these buses carry. So, and there are other people too. They've taken business people. It's a very sad situation. But I don't think, for instance, the one that happened last week in Benue State, that one could say, oh, the doctors were just being targeted. I think this opportunistic attacks that they just came out on the highway, and then they feel that they can take into bus loot of people, because this is a case of kidnapping for ransom. So I would not think that medical people in this instance are particularly targeted.
Well, again, we'll get Dr. Innocent to speak to that, but it's important to properly contextualize it. I don't know if we can get Dr. Innocent in now, but while that is being sorted, it's important to properly contextualize this. While we understand that there's a general insecurity in some areas, by the way, which is worrisome, I should say, but we're seeing this trend, so we want to properly put it in context, explain it so we know what we're dealing with here. Because for a long time, it appears as though we didn't quite know what we were dealing with. Are they bandits? Are they terrorists? Are they opportunists? Are they, secessionists and all of that? It's been tough to really define them. So you wouldn't blame people, Dr. Osoro, if they explain things the way they see them. And it takes me to my next question, which is in terms of ensuring that, first, these people are arrested, they're prosecuted, and people get some sort of closure to the cases. There are lots of unresolved kidnap cases in the country. The people are rescued or released, and we hear nothing about those who kidnapped them. You don't have this in other climes. They always say that one thing you can vouch for some authorities for is that they will get those terrorists or criminals one way or the other. But has that been the case here, Dr. Osoro?
Sadly, I think that's the dilemma that we're really facing, because I keep on thinking that if we want to get our economy back, we're talking about food security, we're talking about our high cost of foodstuff and all that. The number one thing that government really needs to handle is this general insecurity. And I don't think we're doing enough. That's the truth. Sometimes you hear an election in a state, you'll hear maybe the police say, oh, they are deploying 20,000 people. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense also, they are deploying so number of thousands. Even road safety will even join. And you begin to wonder, the space that these criminals are occupying, why can't we declare a state of emergency? Mobilize the same way we mobilize our security people to go, manage elections that are mostly, people full of complaints and legal tussles and all that. Why can't we take maybe 6 months, 1 year? Let's face this general insecurity.
Right.
Do something about it. And then you just discover that, for instance, you come to the north, maybe in a place like Plateau, that everywhere you can plant anything and you make a good harvest. Are people really going to their farms? These are the issue.
All right.
In Benue State, you hear, that's what I'm saying. You hear this Gato area attacked, after that again attacked, and you're having people in state capitals who are in IDPs.
Well, Dr. Osoro, I'd like to pause you for a moment. Pardon me. We now have Dr. Innocent and Mr. Enalegu from our Abuja studio with us. So, Dr. Innocent, quite a lot on your table. First, to land on the thought you were making about the incidents you've recorded so far, and then you might want to respond to some of the points raised by Dr. Osoro. Dr. Innocent, over to you now.
Thank you very much. Like I said earlier, I don't quite agree with the assertion of Dr. Osoro concerning that doctors are targeted. Now, this is a rising cause for concern because we are beginning to notice a lot of incidents of kidnapping, particularly on health workers and then specifically on doctors. We have all of the statistics. A lot of our members are currently in captivity, and some of the reasons, and we've had cause to interact with those that were released. So we have this very conviction that the attacks are beginning to be targeted on doctors. Number one, doctors are perceived to be rich. So that's one of the reasons that we're beginning to see this attack on doctors. These kidnappers, they believe that doctors are rich, and it's a wrong assertion. Then secondly, they also believe that doctors will be able to mass mobilize in terms of raising resources to be able to pay for ransom for their colleagues, considering the associations that we belong to. Again, this is a wrong assertion. Then some of our colleagues that currently been released, we've also had cause to interact with them. And you will observe that these kidnappers, they also use our colleagues in their camp, to attend to their colleagues, their mercenaries that are wounded, and then to provide healthcare services even in their camp. So these are some of the reasons that we're beginning to notice and witness rising cases of kidnap among doctors. Like, for instance, a renowned professor of neurology, Professor Ekanem of the University of Calabar, was kidnapped. Today makes it exactly 1 year. She was kidnapped in her clinic while offering services to her patients. This was precisely in July 13, 2023. We've followed up a lot of raising concern and awareness. Till today, we really can't talk about her whereabouts. We had a case where Dr. Macpherson Samson was also kidnapped along the airport road in Abuja. He was in his clinic and then he stepped out to get something and then he was picked up. Then currently we have a case of Dr. Ganiat Kupola, who was also kidnapped. Today makes it exactly 7 months, 23 days in detention. She was kidnapped in a federal government quarters in Kaduna. She's a resident in a national eye care center, and she was kidnapped alongside her husband and her nephew. And then, interestingly, her husband was released. Why was the doctor not released? And then we also noticed that our colleagues that are kidnapped, it takes a very long time before they are released, even when ransoms are paid. You know, so that means there must be a reason why they are held back in some of these camps. And this has always been our advocacy to government and health personnel, because security personnel, because we currently have a lot of pressure on healthcare system in Nigeria with deteriorating healthcare system. And so before now, we were battling with the Japa syndrome of doctors traveling abroad to seek for better remuneration, better welfare, better security. But now we currently have this issue of rising kidnapping on doctors. And it's going to put a lot more pressure on the healthcare system. No doctor will currently want to go to the primary healthcare center. This is where rural dwellers have access to healthcare. Incidentally, it is the den of kidnappers. Once you are working in the primary healthcare system, the secondary healthcare system, you get kidnapped. Whatever remuneration that we're talking about, you pay huge sums of money for ransom. Now, the current issue of the kidnapping of the 20 medical students. Again, this case was reported, it happened Thursday, the 15th day of August, 2023. It was reported, and up till now we read in the news where government, the IGP said security personnel, helicopters, and drone have been mobilized to the rescue of, we are talking about 20 potential doctors that have been in captivity for the past 4 days. Now, if these people graduate to become doctors, do you think they want to walk in the shores of this country? Do you think that we have confidence to be able to discharge their duty? Do you think we that are doctors that are currently working, any doctor you see in Nigeria currently is out of passion and patriotism? Because what we get, what we hear in terms of reward, security, social welfare, opportunities for professional retraining for our counterpart abroad. So for any health personnel to be in the country Nigeria, it is out of sheer patriotism. So if you notice all of these kind of situations, it makes us lose confidence to be able to stay back. It makes us lose confidence to be able to attend to our patient. You are attending to your patient, you have concern, you have fear. It shouldn't be. Now, let me go back to the 20 medical students that were kidnapped. Incidentally, this happened in my community in Benue State. I am from Benue State, and you know, government makes a lot of assertion that you really can't lay your hand on. We have not seen any drone. We've not seen helicopter. This should be palpable. This should be physical. The effort should be very obvious. But we've not seen any of this effort. And our clamoring and advocacy has always been immediate response to these issues. Because the longer you wait, the more complicated it becomes. So these are the awareness that we've been creating. Take, for instance, Dr. Kupola that is in detention. She's beginning to have worsening medical condition. We have evidence of life from her because she communicated with the family recently. And this was a case that was reported far back to the Kaduna state government, reported to relevant security personnel. Right. We had to embark on synergistic effort in all the centers in Nigeria to be able to create awareness. So we are calling on government to rise up, to the task of providing security, not just to medical personnel, but to the entirety of the citizenry.
Indeed.
Thank you very much.
Indeed, Dr. Jonathan. Let me go to Mr. Nelego. I know you have lots to say about this, but taking the case of Dr. Ganiat Bokwola, almost 8 months in captivity. Dr. Jonathan says there's proof of life. She's been communicating with family. But when you think about it, 8 months, this is definitely an exception. Yes, some may say that the one about the medical students was opportunist, but the fact is that they have been kidnapped. And these are the core of, our healthcare system. So what may we be missing? Plus your, initial thoughts on this, Mr. Nelego.
I would have loved to react to the first question you posed.
Let's go ahead.
Regarding the targeting of medical doctors. I want to align with your other guests that it may not be totally correct to say that medical personnel or doctors are being targeted from the circumstances. The kidnappers carry out surveillance, and they must see the kidnap potential. And what is your kidnap potential? That you may have money. So it doesn't matter whether you're a medical doctor, but within your community, if you are found to be the rich guy, you could be a potential for kidnap. And so such people are usually advised to be aware that they could be kidnapped and take measures to protect themselves. Now, another thing that we need to talk about is some of these kidnaps are opportunistic, like you correctly stated, like the one that happened in Benue State. Now, there are things you have to look for. When kidnap happen along the highway, you've got to talk about the terrain. Are they hilly areas? Are they bushy areas? And if you look at data that you collect on kidnap along highways, those places are usually hilly places, and they are areas that are usually prone to kidnap incidents. And so usually the local police would advise residents and travelers that when you travel in this part of the road, security is a little bit difficult in those locations. So kidnap potential and terrain play a critical role. And don't forget, we're in the rainy season. Most of the roads are covered with tall shrubs and grasses. And so even the shoulders of the road, most places are taken over. So it is easy for these vicious criminals to emerge from the bush and launch a surprise attack on unsuspecting motorists that ply the highway. So that happens. Now, when kidnap occur, of course, there is a protocol for response, like that happened in Benue. Clearly from what has taken place, they've kidnapped 20 medical students. They are demanding for 50 million. You know that these guys are local. They are within that area. They are not that sophisticated. Otherwise, the first demand they will make will not be that figure. And so you've got to begin to look inwards. And that is why you come to the community. You come to synergy among security agencies, cooperation and collaboration with the community. Every community have their bad guys. Every community and people in those communities know who are the good guys. And these are the only ways you'll be able to deal with the issues of kidnap. Like that lady who has been in detention. It's also about collaboration between the security agencies and the communication companies, the service providers. Because I believe that once you're able to make a phone call, that wherever with the collaboration and cooperation of service providers and with technology and human intelligence within those locations, it should be possible to bust into this. And I think these are areas that security agencies need to get more personnel and then to upscale upscale in those areas. So once you are able to make a phone call, you have given an important clue, an important lead that the security agencies are working on. And I believe that doctor that has spent so many months, 7 months, certainly I believe that cannot be in the bush, even though they'll be moving the victim from one point to the other. When they make a phone call at a location,
they can also do a conference call with the leader of the kidnap gang. Call it. So even when you track to that individual, you may not get. But I believe that these crimes are solvable with technology, with collaboration and cooperation among security agencies, with technology. Yeah.
Just as you continue to profile solution, because you're the security expert here, I would like you to suggest to the doctors, because at some point, what we've experienced with the Nigerian state, unfortunately, sad to say this, is that people eventually get to try to solve their own problem. Provide your own security, provide your own water, provide your own electricity at some level, and all of that. Now, while they are trying to wait for the big brother, which is the Nigerian state, to protect them, what can they do in the interim to protect themselves? As you can hear from the doctor, they said they're even worried, even in medical facilities.
Now, in terms, that's why I say, when you realize your kidnap potential, you have to be kidnap aware. And when you are kidnap aware, you take certain measures. For example, areas you normally go frequently, you've got to be, you've got to keep your movement private. If you follow one route at a particular time, you can expose yourself because your routine can be predicted. So you avoid predictability of your movement. Number two, be very careful whom you share your transaction and your movement with. Sometimes we get so relaxed that we begin to communicate in places that we shouldn't communicate. And then somebody gets to know, that this doctor has, or this individual has just received arrears for 6 months, for example. It means a person has money. So, but what we're trying to do, even within your household, you must be careful with those that work with you, those that work with you in the hospital. You don't have to be a doctor. Wherever you are, what it causes that communication must be of important activities of your life must be kept private. If you do that, you limit the risk of kidnap. Now, then you have to have access control. If you are working in a hospital, for example, even if patients are brought on emergency, there should be proper documentation. But ordinarily, assuming you are running a private hospital, we should be able to screen guests that come in, have registers, people to record. And the simple thing you can do within that medical facility, you can have few cameras, might be one in the approach, one in the general area, not more than 2, 3, and that will not cost you very much. So if you have camera, it will act as a deterrence and it will assist in investigation. And also, you've got to liaise with the local police to tell you what is the crime trend, because the local police will be able to tell you, the DPO, will be able to tell you these are the crime trends and these are the issues. And you've got to have the telephone numbers that you can call, because response is important. Usually when your location is known, you discuss with the DPO in confidence and you can call them when things happen. They are able to respond, and the kidnappers will normally not want where it will be difficult to pick the individual. So when you have a proper access control in your facility, you are able to ask a kind of delay and you deter them. When they see that you have camera, they won't even come. Yeah.
Let's take it to Dr. Osoro. Dr. Osoro, we would like your intervention as well, both for the doctors and the hospital environments, especially, and places where these doctors live, because the doctor in the studio, in Abuja studio, Dr. Innocent, has clearly disagreed with you. He says because they are seen as high value, they see them as rich, the economic heritage, they can mass mobilize, they can provide healthcare services, and the long term of keeping them in the abductors' nests, then rather is a clear case that they are being targeted. But going beyond that, what can they do differently, especially where they work, as well as what the Nigerian state can do to change this perception that doctors are being targeted?
Let me add that my sympathies go to the families of the doctors that are in this kind of situation, and also all other Nigerians. And there are many. There are quite a lot of people. And so, but what I just want us to know is that religious leaders have been kidnapped, lawyers have been kidnapped, bankers have been kidnapped, and all kind of. It's just because I'm a security man, and so there are things I take notice of, So I can say this, in clear terms. It may not be. You can talk about somebody standing on the highway to target maybe a set of medical doctors. Well, I didn't even know that they are doctors. No, but I think generally, like I said.
My apologies. I wanted to say that you mentioned that people were even being kidnapped inside medical facility. You mentioned that.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to that. The problem that we have, I did say that, sometimes during one small election, you hear so thousands of policemen are being prepared for this election. So number of even the army, all that kind of a thing. Honestly, the situation is a dire one. What advice we won't give in the past, I can speak to you some safety tips. But what safety tips will I give you that you won't go on the highway, not in the night? Of course, night journey is out of it. But we're talking about in the daytime, sometimes in the afternoon. I know someone who was traveling around that same Benue area about in the afternoon. And these guys just came out on the bush and started, scattering, shooting into their vehicle. So, you can't say that if you in the hospital, can security be provided in every health facility? It's going to be difficult. So, but what I think that we could do at the moment is honestly, and this may be awkward, is for one to try to reduce most of the travels honestly.
All right.
Most of the travels. That's just on travel, maybe on traveling. And then, of course, All
right, Dr. Sora. We must thank you because of time. Thank you so much for your thoughts. But it's just unfortunate that we have to look for creative ways to move around and to live instead of living free in a democracy. That calls to question the ability of the state to protect all of us. And I'm sure they have responses. I must thank you, Dr. Edinel Soros, Security and Management Consultant, Fellow, the Security Institute, United Kingdom, and founding MD CEO of Executive Guards Limited, as well as Mr. Wilson Inalego, retired Assistant Inspector General of Police from Abuja studio, as well as Dr. Abba Innocent, President, Association of Resident Doctors, University of Abuja Teaching Hospital. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program. Well, when we come back after this break, we will be talking about Mpox. 39 cases confirmed in Nigeria. The Director General of NAFDAC will be joining us to explore that conversation and what we need to do to stay safe. NCDC, I should say, NCDC, Nigeria Center for Disease Control, will be joining us to explore that conversation. Join us again.
Also across river, Lagos and Ogun states are states said to be mostly affected by Mpox. What is Nigeria doing about it? What should you know about Mpox? We have joining us on the program this morning the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, Dr. Jide Idris. You can see a breakdown of the Mpox outbreak in Africa. But let's speak with Dr. Jide Idris this morning as we walk through this, well, worrying dimension of Mpox. You're welcome to the morning brief, Dr. Idris.
Good morning to you. Good morning, viewers.
Well, Dr. Idris, Nigerians are still trying to grapple with cholera, how to, stay safe and all of that. Then all of a sudden, Mpox comes right round the corner and they're wondering what exactly is going on. You have spoken about this, you've granted a press. You said that the country is ramping up efforts to contain this. Speak to us about those efforts, then we'll break it down, Dr. Idris.
Well, I know any country should be in a position to be able to respond, prepare and respond appropriately to any disease outbreak. That is it. Can you hear me?
Yes, please, Dr. Idris. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Idris, I can hear you loud and clear. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I said any country should be in a position to be prepared for any emergencies, especially those related to diseases. That's what preparedness and response is all about. And that's just the mandate of the National Center for Disease Control. Throughout the year, we track diseases of public health interest, and especially those of them that are endemic in the environment. Just like you rightly said, we've been battling with a lot of outbreaks in the past couple of months. Cholera, meningitis, Lassa fever, and now we have Mpox. And basically, the system is slightly simple. We track occurrence of these diseases from different parts of the country. We also know how these diseases are contracted, how they are transmitted, what causes them. So specifically from Mpox, it is one of those diseases called zoonotic diseases. And let me, by the way, most of the diseases we come across here, diseases of animals, a zoonotic disease. That's it. Diseases of animals, primarily animals that get in contact with human beings and infect human beings, and that's what Mpox is all about. Unfortunately, too, Mpox can be transmitted from human to human, and that's why again that it's very essential that if we know the transmission of diseases, how these diseases occur, we can easily control them. For Mpox, this is an issue of contact. If anybody gets in contact with an infected animal or any materials that have been in contact with the animal used to treat these animals, or in contact with an infected human being, he or she is likely to get this disease. And that's why it's very essential that issue of contact should be addressed fully. At least if you come in contact with somebody, you know somebody who is ill, who has this disease, avoid contact. If you are caring for that person, ensure that you are gowned properly, you are protected, wearing protective clothing, gloves, and nose covers, etc. It's basically just to prevent you from getting contact with this disease. And especially how are these? Like I said, these are diseases of animals. Basically, these are diseases of rodents, squirrels, and monkeys. These are not fully confirmed. These are suspected. And so if you have all these animals, if you see an animal similar to this that are ill, avoid them. If you are cooking these animals, again, ensure that they're properly cooked and we are cooking properly disposed of carefully. And when these people who contact the disease, it presents in a very typical way. Start with fever, body chills, muscle aches. But typically you have this rash that resembles smallpox rash. The rash starts from the face, it spreads down to all of the body, to also the palms and soles of the body. When this rash starts with like pustules, they start exuding some fluid and becomes pus. And this is about the time they get infected. And this is about the time, again, people should actually move away, do not get in contact with these patients. So if you have any patient, any friends, any relations who present with things like this, please advise such people to go straight to seek health care. That way they can easily be treated. Secondly, when this disease occurs now, we've at NCDC, we've been in contact with activated what we call Emergency Operations Center for Mpox. We've appointed an incident manager. We've started moving around and we've talked to people at the port health services. Basically now, those are people who handle people who come into this country. People coming now are mandated to fill these declaration forms where several questions are asked as to, related to this disease, especially from those countries where these diseases have occurred, especially from the East Africa, Central Africa, and so on. Even from Europe, a couple of cases have also been detected in Europe. So people coming in are subjected to these forms. They're supposed to complete these forms. From these forms, those people who you suspect might have disease are taken aside and asked specific questions and tested. So far in this country right now, we have 39 confirmed cases, and luckily for us, no deaths. We've intensified what we call our surveillance systems, that's tracking disease, especially in those areas where we feel Mpox have been detected. States like Rivers State, Cross River State, Abia State, Lagos State, Taraba State, and I think Bayelsa. Those are key areas where some of these cases have been detected. Secondly, we met with all the healthcare commissioners in all the states just to enlighten them again to ensure that they too establish their own emergency preparedness systems, which they've done. We are sending them materials to guide them into how to make diagnosis, how to track, and public awareness systems all over. They go to different parts of the states and local governments again, enlightening the public on what Mpox is all about, how Mpox is contracted, how it is spread, how it presents, and what people should do.
All right, Doctor.
Basically,
just to add to some of the things, a few questions more to add. You've mentioned a couple of states, and I couldn't help but notice that there are states within the coastal area. Maybe you can explain to us. Maybe you can help us. I was saying that, Doctor, that in listening to you, I can see that a couple of the states that you mentioned are coastal states. Maybe you'll be able to explain to us exactly why that is. Just hold on, sir. In terms of geographic mapping, and also the people that have been confirmed, 39 of them. Maybe give us some level of demographic, I should say, distribution.
Well, I know that we've got cases from Lagos. The highest case is from Bayelsa. We have 5 cases. We have in Cross River. We have in Rivers State. I think we have in Enugu. Those are the cases I can remember. And I know that on the whole, we have about 19 states. Those are the ones that have relatively high number of cases. I also do know that in different parts, studies have been conducted, especially with the last outbreak in 2022. Many of these cases were, last time we have Bayelsa, Cross River, Ogun State, Lagos, Ebonyi State. I think there's Rivers, and there is Enugu. I don't have the full details here on me right now, but I can send them around. But these are cases where in 2022, some of these cases were detected much earlier. And that's why the emphasis has been there.
Okay. So I was talking about demographic distribution, age, and all of that.
Yeah, unfortunately, many of these cases are found in the younger age groups. That's 0 to 10. But again, you have cases again cutting across all age groups from about 10 to 40, 50. Yeah, there are many cases like that. About 10 to 20% of cases are in younger age groups, 0 to 10.
Okay, so let's talk about the females right now. You've been talking about response, and one of the major places that I would like you to speak to, and what the agency is doing in terms of collaboration with these areas. Now, especially that local government now have financial autonomy, so we expect that they should do more. In terms of the primary healthcare facilities, how much of facilities and measure is being put in place at that level to ensure that those of them that are within the lower cadre around the economy are catered for as quickly as possible. We're grateful and happy that there are no fatalities recorded at this moment.
That's the reason why we met because a few days ago with the commissioners of health in all the states. One, to give them materials on how to do this. Two, to ensure that they themselves now set up the emergency preparedness in the various local government areas and states. They are going to go back again to meet with their DSNOs and the public health practitioners in the local government areas. They're going to work with the communities and especially with respect to public awareness. What we've told them was that once they have any suspected case, they know precisely where they send these people to, where samples can be taken, and these samples again have been they need to be taken to specific laboratories for quick, prompt diagnosis. Unfortunately, we don't have those many laboratories that have those capabilities, and that's why we're trying to expand increase the numbers like we have. Right now, we have key laboratories at Port Harcourt, Enugu, Lagos, even at HC in the Osun State. But from any state, once they have samples, they know precisely how to transfer these samples to those laboratories for quick diagnosis. But more importantly is the public awareness and the local government areas, which the states are handling. The states have that sole responsibility. They have the wherewithal. They have the structure in place to get these things across to the various people. More importantly is the public awareness that is essential. Expect people who have these symptoms like we highlighted, they should seek quick medical advice.
All right. So in a nutshell, I just want to break it down for Nigerians. Is this something that we should be worried about? And I wanted to put it on a scale. There's cholera, there's COVID-19, maybe that's extreme. But people also want to find a way to properly view this. So where would you place that, and how should we approach this, Dr. Idris?
Let me put it this way. There was a technical working group that was established. They assessed the risk level of Mpox and they placed a high risk. So people should be very, very cautious, a high risk. So whether with cholera, yes, we have cholera that kills more people, that they've killed so far more than Mpox. But again, we were lucky. And it says that the strain we have here is what they call the Clade 2, that is very mild. But we are not resting because we don't know when Clade 1 will come in. We're not hoping that it will come in, but we need to be prepared. And that's why we're enlightening all the laboratories now. That's why the border areas are being sensitized, so that we can increase our vigilance. And once we're empowering all the laboratories we mentioned there with reagents so that they can quickly do a quick turnaround in diagnosis. So we can quickly get this, because Clade 1 is more serious. We don't want to have that in this country right now.
Right, and that's a concern that a lot of people have shared. I was just reading Professor Tomori also sharing that concern, saying he's worried about Clade 1 being imported into the country. And this is not to drown people in all of the medical or epidemiology terminologies. This is a major concern. And that's why I asked that, how do we place this in terms of, severeness, or, how serious it can be. But I'd like you to speak to us also on how this messaging is getting to the grassroots. Now, doing research about this recent spread, it's actually been attributed to Nigeria as far back as 2017, and it's some sort of blame being placed at the table of Nigerians or otherwise, that, well, this is where we've pinpointed it to. That's on the one hand. On the other hand is the name itself. A lot of people knew it as monkeypox before. It was changed to Mpox because of the possibility of it being misconstrued, as targeting a particular ethnicity, group of people or otherwise. So it was changed from monkeypox to Mpox. But the point is, there's a lot of attention on Africa, and where you zoom in closer on Nigeria. So how are you handling all of that heat, if I can call it that as well?
Well, there is this is also falls under what we call a One Health, they call it One Health approach. since the disease of animals basically that finds way to human beings, there's the concerted effort now under the One Health platform, which means that the ministries of health, the Ministry of Environment and Agriculture must work together. And whatever we do, the policies will be the same, actions will be the same. In the Ministry of Agriculture, they themselves are tracking some of these diseases in animals under their purview. The issue of environmental factors now, all this deforestation. You see, some of these animals have their special habitats. Once we disrupt them, that's when this disease starts spreading. That's when they start coming to humans, and that's why it's incumbent on us, the three ministries or agencies of government, to work together to address this. Whereas both at the level of health sector, the agricultural sector, especially with respect to animals, and the environment. Let's forget your second question now. Can you come again?
Yes, just quickly, I was asking how you're handling all of that heat. I mean, Nigeria being responsible for the latest spread.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a collective effort now under the One Health agenda.
Okay, and then the grassroots part, ensuring that this gets to the grassroots, the people who really need this messaging.
And that's why, again, it's also called enhanced surveillance. There's what they call community surveillance, which, our health workers go into the various communities, work with the community leaders, and just like they are trying to track other diseases, they include Mpox in it. Right. It's just like enlightening them, telling those people again, and people go around again. And once they see cases like this, similar cases, they report. They know what to report. They know who to report to. And this is a sent back to us through the states and to NCDC.
All right,
it's the same thing we use for most other diseases. Yeah.
Right. You can land on that point as we wind down. Okay, I thought you were going to make a point, but we have to thank you so much, Dr. Jide Idris. A lot of people who knew you as commissioner would obviously be looking up to what you will do at the helms of NCDC. We wish you the very best, Dr. Idris. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
We'll take a moment now. We'll return the few cues, scarcity, hoarding. What exactly is responsible this time around? We'll find out in a moment. Stay with us.
For those of us who live in Lagos and Abuja and parts of the country, fuel scarcity is new normal, at least for the moment. And that's why we're being joined in the program by the National President of Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, Mr. Billy Gillis Harris, joins us via Zoom. Mr. Harris, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigeria.
I know we like to see your face and have your expertise, but this is quite quick. What happened? with this fear scarcity just yet again? We barely had you some time ago, and now we're back on this table.
Well, I think until we get our supply challenges sorted out efficiently and abundantly, I will use that word, we will not be able to get out of this circle. NNPC is doing their best to bring in products. We are getting bit by bit, and we can only supply what we have. So that is where we are.
So what is responsible for this round of scarcity yet again?
Well, I believe you must have heard the NNPC communication director, who explained again and again that the issues at stake are still logistics related. So until they get that properly resolved, we may just be managing with just the little they're able to bring and give to us to distribute across our members.
All right, so let me get this right. We've since found a way to reduce our consumption. At least we say that we've reduced our consumption. I mean, it's no more what it used to be because subsidy has been removed. Basically, our population has not really changed overnight. It's still the same people, even less people to supply since we have reduced consumption over time. So what is different this time around that we have issues with logistics? Because that's the simple question. What changed? Did they change the person? For the layman, that is, we wonder, did they change the logistics person? Did some trucks break down? Did some pipes burst? Did some depots shut down? What does logistics entail?
No, it's about ship-to-ship transfer. And until the ship gets the product, it cannot deliver to any of the depots. And the depots have product where the retailers cannot also have access to products. So that's just what it is. So we have been speaking with NNPC. We encourage them to do more, and they are trying their best. I can confirm to you that they are working hard to make sure that petroleum products are received at the depots, and we, the retailers, can also have products to take to the retail outlets and distribute same efficiently and promptly to the Nigerian public.
I'm looking at NNPC's communication channel, and one of them is X on X, right? And you look through, because this is a very big challenge, right? These are issues that you see other countries don't play with, because petrol is at the heart of, I mean, literally everything in the country: power, businesses, livelihoods, and everything. So I'm looking through the X handle, and I don't see, at least from the first few comments I see, and this one is up to 4 days ago, 5 days ago, I don't see anything on the fuel scarcity. The latest is on NNPC Limited not owing $6.8 billion. So there are questions as to how this is being approached in terms of communication on the one hand. And then if you trickle down, or at least if you break that down, this tightness in supply, logistics, is it just another term for we don't have the supply, or we don't have money for the supply?
Well, in my opinion, NNPC's communication needs to be much more robust and more inclusive in all the areas that need to be explained to the Nigerian public. But as it is today, suffice it to say that the difficulty is hinged on the supply challenges emanating from ship-to-ship transfer. And also, when you talk about the $6.8 billion, NNPC has also come out to say that they are not owing that kind of money. So sometimes what we notice in this industry is that there is so much rumor that makes a wider round than the truth. And this is why I will personally implore the NNPC to always make communication much more robust and much more inclusive, and also consistent and efficiently done so too, so that the Nigerian public don't keep guessing and then some rumor mongers will just come in and throw in some social media analysis that is not correct most of the times. Because we are practically in touch with NNPC and we know the challenges they have are true, and they are working very hard to make sure that we have products in our retail outlets.
So in your view, does it look like NNPC is struggling at different fronts? Because on one hand, there is a debt issue they are dealing with. I know that's not a conversation we brought you in, and of course the back and forth whether they are owing or not owing, and then this issue of supply, the issue of transparency. Is it that there's too much convolution within that space in the NNPC that is too much to carry, and what can be done going forward so that at least at the minimum, those of us who just want to buy fuel and other petroleum product can see to buy as simple as possible?
Well, in my opinion, NNPC should be more, be more available to communicate these issues, because it might not be just sufficient to do one X posting. There should be a regular update interaction that should be able to help the Nigerian public to know. But as it is today, I can tell you with all sense of responsibility that NNPC is working hard even to give products to us as retail outlet owners or as marketers. And all we are waiting for is just these supplies that they have started working with to arrive in our depots on all the coastal areas in Lagos, Delta, Rivers, Calabar, so that we can be able to lift this product and distribute same in all our retail outlets. I also don't think, that everything is all right, because this is very unusual. NNPC that I know from my teenage years to now will respond to this kind of challenge speedily. But I hope that they will at some point also adopt a stakeholder solution approach to get this thing done, because you need data, you need information, you need the practitioners, those of us that are grassroots, to also assist in some of these policies and actions that should ameliorate these difficulties. So I think that's just what I will say. But as far as I know, NNPC is working hard. And last week, I know that quite a lot of marketers had product from Lagos. Right. Hopefully this week, we'll be getting product also from Port Harcourt, Warri, and also possibly Calabar. So if the challenges of ship-to-ship transfers are efficiently handled, and we have smaller vessels coming in, I think that this situation should be solved.
Well, as we wind down, you are the president of a petrol products retail outlet owners association, but we've seen some retail outlets springing up, and that is the black market guys. They've turned out to be retail outlets as well. They're selling for 1,215, and people are forced to buy because they don't find petrol in the official retail outlets. The last time we had a conversation, we spoke to pricing, which has also been a major challenge, and it is so irregular. Yes, we understand that there's some sort of deregulation, but the pricing is just irregular. In the same area, you see a filling station selling for what, 900. In another area, you see a filling station selling for, in the same area rather, you see one selling 900, 700, and you wonder, there's obviously no difference in transportation. So what exactly is the pricing range, and what is responsible for this, exorbitant pricing that we're seeing across board?
Well, NNPC has not changed prices. So today, we still buy at the template which they have provided. The only challenge we have with buying directly from the NNPC is that this supply challenge is affecting us. If it were not so, almost all the retail outlets will sell just within a bracket of what has been approved. Obviously, there are price changes, price differences between one state and another, or one city and another. And also, why you can see some price differences within a given area is that maybe the two filling stations did not get their product sourcing directly from NNPC. They may have sourced it from second level, third tier levels, and at those points, prices will change because also the logistics to move them from one location to the other will also change. That will account for these price differences. But for whatever it is, we do as much as we can to ensure that we do not encourage unnecessary price hiking. That's from the patron side of town.
All right, Mr. Billy Gilesari, we must thank you. National President of the Petroleum Products Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, always coming through to answer questions, doing the heavy lifting on behalf of the NNPCL sometimes. But we must thank you as always. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Well, Jeffrey, I'm looking through some of the comments we have from you. This user, Tingomi Fire, I hope I got that well, said in any corporate setting, if you allow the sort of excuses that NNPC churns out whenever there is petrol scarcity that causes hardship to millions of Nigerians, nothing will be achieved, as there will always be excuses for failure. Always, this user says.
Yeah, you know, that's, I think it's not just the NNPCL, especially within the public sector. There are fantastic people within that sector, I must say. But there are some weak links at the end of the day that we've seen so as far as it's concerned. So what he's saying is that efficiency is required, and I think we agree with him. But that's all we can take on the program. Thank you so much for your time and company. I'm Jeffrey Uzama.
And I'm Kayode Okikilu. Sunrise Daily is next. Stay with us right here on Channels Television. Goodbye.